Hey, it's Mia. Regular listeners to No Filter will probably remember an interview I did about a year ago with an extraordinary man called Eddie Jaku. He is a Holocaust survivor and he describes himself as the happiest man alive. We thought it would be a great time to revisit his advice and his philosophy about life. And also, it's his 100th birthday today. But before I replay you that interview, I just wanted to share with you a quick phone call that I had with his granddaughter, Danielle, about how he's doing, where he is, and how he's planning to celebrate his birthday. Here's Danielle.
Hi, Danielle.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good. Oh, great. Living the dream. How are you?
Well, I keep thinking of your grandfather and reminding myself that we have nothing to complain about.
Yes, good point. I do think that. And he's got a really good attitude at the moment as well.
How is he? Tell me.
He is having good days and, days where he wishes he could just walk out and socialise and see all his mates at the museum. But he's got a good outlook. Yeah, he's got perspective and he's pretty excited to be reaching 100. He said, I spoke to him earlier today and he said that his mum used to say that your life seems like a mountain when it's ahead of you and then when you look back it's like a dream. So he said he feels that rings true. He's got my grandmother, so, they're together and I think he feels very lucky to be in that position, and he plans to get dressed in a suit and tie tomorrow morning.
When I last spoke to him, I think your grandmother was unwell. I think she was in hospital. Where are they living now?
Yeah, they're in a nursing home that's taking very good care of them, but that's upholding some pretty strict measures so that there's no interaction with anyone from outside, and only a certain number of people, staff members, can come and work on any day. But they're in a nursing home and that's more for her care physically, although she's completely well mentally. And because he's emotionally attached to her, that's why he's there with her.
And what are his plans for tomorrow besides putting on a suit? How's the family? It's not how you would have hoped to be celebrating it.
No, so I do have an insider social worker she's one of the head social workers there who did give me a call last week to say that they're going to surprise him with balloons, and I think 5 staff members are allowed at any given time. I think they're allowed there at one time. So these 5 staff members will go and make a big deal of him. So that's top secret. And then there's going to be a drive-by of some of his survivor friends and Jewish museum colleagues and friends. I mean, that's his community really. So I think they're going to drive by. That's also a surprise.
And have the grandkids and how many grandkids and great-grandkids has he got?
4 grandkids. I'm the oldest, and 5 great-grandkids. So my daughter, who is going to be she's put together an iMovie and they've made a big deal about him. Just collected a whole bunch of happy birthday videos from everyone and put it together, and it'll just be a matter of making sure he actually opens it, because I think he's going to get a lot of mail and we just want to make sure he actually sees it. But I think 8 a.m. chat on the phone with my dad, breakfast, bit of a sunbake. Like, he's complaining he doesn't have northerly light, but he'll find the sun.
He likes a sunbake.
He likes a bit of a sunbake. So I think as long as he gets his sun,
got to keep up the tan.
Yeah. I think he's got perspective though. So, I think having connection from the outside world via Zoom and WhatsApp, and he knows how to do all that, will make him really happy.
And have you talked to him about Corona and how he views it all? I can't imagine him despairing about anything.
No, he's very tactile. You probably would have noticed in the interview. I don't know. He loves to hold your hand, and he is very much a face-to-face person. And So I think he's missing that connection with people and being able to hug them. And but he's definitely lived far worse circumstances. I mean, I think there are Holocaust survivors speaking about things like that. Like, come on, we live in a really beautiful place. And we're really lucky. And that's how it kind of like I've lived that's my perspective on everything, thanks to him. But I have spoken about it. He's a rule keeper, so he doesn't want to upset the nursing home where he is. He's not going to like breach any rules, step outside and look out for me at the other side of the fence because he doesn't want to be asked to leave. So I think he's annoyed by it, but he also wants to make sure everyone's safe and well, and he'll do everything he needs to do that. And yeah, he's happy to be looked after where he is.
Please send him all our love. It's such a momentous day, and we've had so many people asking us. We want to hear from Eddie. We want to know that he's well, and also
that's so lovely.
A bit of inspiration. So tell him that he's inspiring people.
I will pass it on in my little slot of a FaceTime with him tomorrow.
I'm sure he's very busy.
That's very thoughtful. Thank you so much, Mia.
Lots of love.
Bye.
You must not hate. You say, I don't like this person, but you don't hate. Hate is a disease. It destroys first your enemy, but you also.
When you meet 98-year-old Eddie Jaku, it's hard not to be happy. And that sounds kind of counterintuitive because Eddie is a Holocaust survivor. But Eddie's full of life and advice and stories and recollections about a world that few people are still alive to remember. It's a world that many people want to forget about, but not Eddie. Because even though it was incredibly dark, that dark world and that dark time ended up providing him with the biggest gift he could have wished for, his life. On the 9th of November in 1938, there was something called Kristallnacht. It was a kind of a riot, or what's called a pogrom, that happened against Jewish people throughout Nazi Germany. And it was carried out by soldiers and civilians, and the German authorities and the police just looked on without intervening. And the name Kristallnacht comes from the shards of broken glass that littered the streets after all the windows of Jewish-owned stores and buildings and synagogues were smashed up. The next day, the 10th of November, Eddie's world changed forever when a group of Nazis knocked on his family's front door. Eddie was 18 and he was a Jew living in Germany. For the next 12 years, he would spend time in and out of concentration camps, including Auschwitz. Eddie would lose his mother and his father, and he would escape the concentration camps and get caught again countless times. But that's not for me to explain to you. It's for Eddie. At 98, soon to be 99 in April, Eddie is the most remarkable storyteller with the most infectious sense of humour. And on this episode of No Filter, he is going to tell us everything that he remembers from that time. I did a lot of listening because it's not every day you get to speak to a 98-year-old, let alone meet a Holocaust survivor in person. And if you take one thing away from this interview, please let it be not to hate. Twitter, are you listening? Here is the remarkable Eddie Jaku. Eddie, it is such an honour to meet you. I want to start by saying I'm so sorry for what happened to you. I am Jewish and I've grown up with stories of the Holocaust, but I've never met a Holocaust survivor before. So I'm quite emotional and I'm quite in awe of
But you see,
I
am self-declared the happiest man because for me, life was finished on Kristallnacht. I lost my freedom, I lost my dignity, I lost everything for which I lived for. I did not expect a country like Germany to behave like that.
It was your home, Germany.
It was my country. It was my life. I lost 2 uncles and a grandfather fighting for Germany, who were Germans first and Germans second, and Jewish at home. We lived there for a long time.
You were sent to boarding school under a false name because your parents were
Yes.
worried about the rise of
You
anti-Semitism.
see, when I was 13 and a half, I was kicked out of a school called Leibniz Gymnasium. My grandfather went to that school, and I was kicked out. My father,
For being
a
Jewish.
stubborn German, he made me false papers, and I became Walter Schleif. And I lived 860 kilometers from my city for 5 years.
You had come back, you were 18 years old, and you came back from boarding school to see your parents for their anniversary. And you came home to your family home, and were they there or they had already been taken?
No, I came back on the 9th of November because on the 10th of November, my parents would have been married 20 years. But I have never seen my parents because my parents and the large family were all in hiding at a relative who was married to a Christian, Auntie Clara. And so I didn't know where they were. I didn't tell them I'm coming. I wanted to surprise them. I was arrested on the 10th of November by 10 Nazis who bashed me to pieces. My pyjama was full of blood. That even the commander of Buchenwald, where they took me after the demolishing of our house, a 400-year-old house, where my great-great-grandparents were born, he said to me, "Who done that to you? You man." He gave me a white sheet and he ordered his driver to take me to a hospital. And for 2 days I was unguarded. But I asked the nurse what would happen if I escape. I spoke French, English and German. And she said, "You got parents?" "Of course I have parents." "Your parents will hang half an hour, 1 hour after." But I'm old now and I still ask, why? All my life. And I never expected a country like Germany, a society of Schiller and Goethe, of Beethoven and Mozart, the most polite, the cleanest, and certainly the most educated country in Europe. Why? And from there I went to Buchenwald, my first concentration camp. But my luck was that I was released from Buchenwald because I'm a precision engineer. I make surgical instruments. That's my profession. And they needed tool makers. So in Buchenwald, I met a friend. He was a descendant of the Kaiser. You know, we had a Kaiser in Germany. And I saw him, he became a god. But he was so upset that he went to the commander of Buchenwald and said, "You know that downstairs Eddie Jaku is a tool maker. We need tool makers." So they called me in the office and he said, "Is it true what Hans tells us? You want to work for us?" "Yes." "To the rest of your life?" "Yes." "Sign." And they didn't take me to the factory where I was supposed to go, where they make aeroplanes and rockets. They ring my dad and they say, "Mr. Jaku, your son is going to be released on the 2nd of May, 1939 at 7 o'clock in the morning. Pick him up, take him home." So he spent a few hours with his mom. And then in the afternoon, you take him to Bleichert. That's a factory 40 kilometers from my city. And he will work there. He would have never seen me again. My father picked me up. 7 o'clock sharp, not in his car, in a hired car, because he didn't want me to go. My father drove more than 9 hours without opening his mouth. Many times I said, "Dad, this is not the way to the factory and not the way home." He didn't answer, stumm. He drove and drove till we came to a city called Aachen. That's the border between Germany and Belgium. Went to a restaurant at 8 o'clock in the night. So far it is. And we had a meal, and while we were eating, my father got up and asked the owner of the restaurant for a phone number of a smuggler who can take us in the night through the forest into Belgium. Smuggler came at 12 o'clock. I don't know how much my father paid. And he couldn't take us straight because there were two lines, defense lines. But he drove us in his car up to Holland. Very easy to go into Holland. And from Holland he took us to Belgium. And for 2 weeks I lived in a beautiful apartment with my dad in Brussels. And one morning, knock on the door, Belgian police arrest me, not my father, me. Because I'm under 50. My father was 52, handcuffed, enemy. Not as a Jew, as a German. So in Germany, I'm not German, I'm Jewish. But in Belgium, I'm not Jewish, I'm German. And I've been put in a camp, 4,000 Germans. Communist, socialist, Democrat, gypsies. For me, it wasn't difficult because I spoke French. I made an application to the Belgian government. I say, I'm an engineer. I don't mind teaching young kids in university engineering. For me, completing my French. But it helped me a lot. First, I had contact with my parents, my father and my mom was still in Germany for another 3 months. And they took the same smuggler, took them into Belgium.
What happened to you there?
So I was interned in Belgium in a camp with the 4,000, but my parents and my sister were living in Brussels in a very nice apartment. And on the 10th of May, 1940, the war started. The war started with Poland a long time before, in September 1939. But 10th of May, Hitler invaded Norway, Denmark, Holland, Belgium, France. Big blitzkrieg means fast. 5 days took everything. We supposed to go to the coast because with me there was a Mr. Ertel who was foreign minister before Hitler. And he had to get away. So I followed him. We arrived at the coast. The commander of this camp, Exorde, was a traitor. He was a collaborator. He didn't want us to get out to the coast because there was a ship waiting to take us to England. So we had to walk, 4,000 people will walk down the coast to Dunkirk. And I can tell you in Dunkirk, I nearly lost my life because the battle was between ships, airplanes, some French and some Canadian, no Australians, and they lost the battle. But I saw Mr. Ertel taking the uniform of a dead English soldier, put it on, and went on to a British warship. So I said, Eddie, you speak English? You can do the same. So I looked for a fellow my size, and I found. When I wanted trousers off, he was killed, bending down, and all his guts were in the trousers. I couldn't.
Oh my God.
I walked for 3 months through the countryside of France. I swear to you, I have never in my whole life found nicer people. They might not be educated, but they were kind, helpful. Every morning, before it got up, the sun, I walked past the farmhouse. A woman or a man would shout at me, "Tu as mangé hier? Did you eat yesterday?" "No, come in." They never asked my name. They never asked where I come from or where I'm going. This is beautiful.
This is after the war had started.
And offered me food. If they had enough bread, they made sandwiches for me to take. While I was in the countryside, I didn't have to go to a toilet. But I arrived in Vichy, France. Half of France was occupied, half was Vichy, France. So the government of Vichy, France was doing everything what the German want. But they were not occupied. And in France, we have no female and male toilet. We all go to the same toilet. You go to a big block of toilets, a woman sitting there in the middle, you have to pay 1 franc. That's her wages, 50 cents. She gives you a towel, but she takes also your jacket and put it on a coat hanger. And she tells you in which cubicle she wants you to go. I sit for 3 minutes, maybe a little bit more. The door opens, French women pulling me off the toilet with my trousers down and punching me in the nose, I tell you, and shouting parachutiste. That woman from the toilet, she went to my jacket and she found my German passport and she went into the street and shouted parachutiste, but she didn't want to say parachutiste. All the spies Germany had in all the countries came by parachute. And so she called.
She thought you were a German spy.
So I was arrested and I was in another camp in south of France. You can see it here. It calls Gurs, G-U-R-S. 16,000 German Jews. Not Jews. I didn't know there was another Jew. I didn't go around in the shower and look who is circumcised. I didn't. We speak German, that's all. Anyway, in May, I'm not sure, the 3rd or the 4th of May, 1941, I was there for 12 months. My name was called. And I thought, I have done something. I haven't done nothing. It was dirty camp, very primitive, but we had 3 meals, we had a bunk, we had our own clothes, but we had no contact with our family. And I found we were 823 German Jews. And we were loaded in wagons, 35 in a wagon. And that's where I heard for the first time the name Auschwitz. This train was going to Auschwitz. Hitler and Laval was the prime minister and Pétain was his second, made a deal. Give me all the German Jews, they're all highly professionals. I need professionals, workers, not laborers. And I give you thousands and thousands of French prisoners he was holding. And we were loaded 35 in a wagon. And on each French train you find on the platform a hammer, a screwdriver, and a shifting spanner. I took that off, put it into my jacket. And I spoke to the train driver, how long this train will travel in France before it enters Germany. 9 hours. I had 9 hours to get out. As the train was going, I unscrewed all the bolts off the floor and chased them out. I didn't know. A floorboard is not made like that. One has a tongue and one has a groove. It's interlocked. It took me 10 hours to chisel away one tongue, and eventually I opened 2 planks, and skinny ones like you and me. We're hanging in the train. It's already dark, and suddenly I see big lights. This is Strasbourg station. That is the border between Germany and France. I say, no. And we fall down. We lie between the lines. We put our hand over the head because sometimes a cable or a chain is hanging down that hits you here in the middle. You are dead. The train went to Auschwitz, but without me. I was free, not free. I went back to Belgium, jumping on trains. I had to take me driving in Europe on the right side, so I jump on the left side. The guards and the locomotive is on the right side, and they're all in the second wagon and in the last wagon. So I jump on the third wagon, and I stand on the platform. Whenever I see the train goes into a station, I have to jump off. In the station, they kill me. So it took me 1 week to make 240 kilometers before I was back in Belgium. I couldn't find my parents or my sister, but we had a friend, commissioner of police from Brussels. He used to come to Leipzig, where I lived for many years, and they were very friends. And we always say to each other, if somebody gets lost, Commissaire de Hert is his name, will know where the others are. I found him eventually. I slept in doorways. I had nowhere to go. And eventually I found my parents. They left their beautiful apartment and they paid some money to an old Christian, and he let them have the attic of a small house. But they had no stamps to buy food. So I found a job in a cigarette factory. The man, his name was Tennebaum. That means Christmas tree. And he says to me, Eddie, I give you a job. Nobody must know that you work for me. I have 7 children. I make you work from 6 o'clock at night to whenever you finish. It's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. But it's curfew. I want you to swear on the Bible. If you're caught in the night going home, it takes 1 hour to go home. It's no transport. And it's only police, army, and firemen in the street. If they see you, they shoot you. But if they catch you, they torture you, and they say where you're coming from and where you're going. And they kill me and my family. I will put a little capsule on your collar. Inside is 1 tablet, cyanide. You take this in your mouth, it solved itself. Within 30 seconds, you fall over. You're dead. I swear to you, if I was caught, that's what I would have done. But I was never caught. But one night, I heard a car coming. No lights. So I walked into a doorway, and a big dog bit me. I still got the mark. Small and big. A dog called Saint Bernard comes from Switzerland. Got a head like a horse. Dog. And he bit me, and he took out a little piece. I couldn't go to a doctor. So the next morning, I didn't tell my parents. I bandaged it, and the next morning I went to a chemist and bought a syringe, and then to another shop who sells chemicals, and I bought tetanus, and I gave myself an injection. I know a lot of medical things. Lucky.
Wow.
See, nothing happened. But somebody denounced us. On the 17th of October, 1942, our luck ran out. Somebody denounced us. I come back to 3:10 in the morning. No light. I thought everybody's asleep. My parents, my sister were taken already. They're waiting for me. And this time it is to Auschwitz. And I have a number on my arm. That is Auschwitz. Now Auschwitz. You see, Auschwitz is a death camp. People speak about Auschwitz. They go there, I don't know why. It's a death camp. Every day can be your last day. We sleep 400 people in a block. We sleep on 4 layers of timber, 10 between columns, like herrings. Nobody can turn. If one wants to turn, all have to turn. So close. We sleep all in our shirt or naked. And it's very cold. It can be 8 below 0. The 2 people, if one of the 10 goes to the toilet, when he comes back, he has to shake number 1 and number 10. They get up, they cannot get up, but they crawl into the middle and push themselves in the middle. If they didn't shake, they are dead in the morning, frozen to death. You can only live outside 4 hours. If they don't move, they're dead. We have 15 to 20 people every night die from cold, not from hunger, not from anything else, not from sickness, from cold. Why? People come back from the toilet. They don't know their duty, that they have to shake. They go back in their slot and don't care. People don't care. This is why what I'm doing now. For 30 years, I didn't speak. I wanted to make the most normal family you can imagine. When I came back to Belgium, I don't know why, I had no one left. Now, I had my sister. But we were not in good terms. But we moved in together, but I had a friend. My number is 172338. My best friend Kurt is 172333. Without him, I wouldn't be here. Without me, he wouldn't have been. He lived his life in Israel, and every 5 years we used to meet. He came here once, and I went to Israel every 5 years. I have also 3 German friends. I meet them in Belgium, in Holland, and the last time in Switzerland. I don't go to Germany. I don't go to Poland. I cannot and will not forgive or forget. But I don't hate. I'm the teacher here. My lectures is about hate. You must not hate. You say, I don't like this person, but you don't hate. Hate is a disease. It destroys first your enemy, but you also. It destroys you. Hate. Hate should be taken out of the vocabulary. This is the downfall of humanity, that we cannot, and it is taken, I hate this, I hate that, I hate the food, Why?
Eddie, when you were in Auschwitz, how did you live every day under those conditions?
Okay. First of all, every day I meet my friend. The Germans have a way of being kind to you. They say, you get an extra piece of bread, double the soup. We look after your family. You tell us who wants to escape, who wants to sabotage, who wants to do something. And they fall for it. Polish, Czechs, Hungarian, they fall for it. They become enemy of their own people, not me. I tell you, I don't know, you shouldn't write that. I was 7 months in Buchenwald. I swear to you, I get 125 gram bread and a soup on Sunday at 11 o'clock. I put my bread here, but I feel I have to go to the toilet quick. I come back, my bread is here. All German Jews. We don't rob each other. We live together, we die together. But in Auschwitz, 1 month in Auschwitz, it's the first time I say that in my interview. I get also my bread and my soup, a bad soup, but very hot. And I'm on the 4th level. I put my bread for 1 second here and put my bread up. I want to take my bread, it's gone. 5 people were there. I spoke a lot of languages. In every language I knew, I said, whoever took my bread will not survive. Now, if I would see you taking somebody's bread, I swear to you, I break your wrist. I will hit you. Not those people. You cannot talk to no one. There can be an enemy. They listen in. You don't talk. They are loudspeakers. They are this, they are that.
Was that a deliberate attempt by the Germans to turn everyone against each other?
So, I'll just give you a bit of a background. Every morning, we march out. 11 factories in 1941 built huge factories. Bayer, from where I worked, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Siemens, Carl Zeiss, all the factories who needed workers for nothing. Till 41, it was up to the commander who lives and who does. Then they said, you idiots, the people under 50 can work for us for nothing, for a piece of bread and a soup. Why you kill them? You took all our workers to the front, become soldiers, and you want us to make more tanks, more planes, more rockets? Let them work. And so they started taking out. See, I must tell you, when I come to Auschwitz, we met the biggest butcher ever lived. His name is Dr. Joseph Mengele. He says to my father this way and to me this way. And I saw my father going on a truck. So I went behind him, I bent down, and I was nearly at the truck when one good man one good soldier German says, "Hey, you, didn't he tell you this side?" And I say, why? So he said to me, "Your father goes by truck and you walk into the camps." I never saw my father again. My father, for 52, my mom, 43, died that night in a gas chamber 20 minutes before they suffocate. Why? Sophisticated country, superior country, white race supremacy. There's no such thing.
Did you know what had happened to them? No. How much did the people in the camp know about the gas chambers?
After about 2 months, I made a ring for one of the couples. He was a prisoner, probably a killer or something, I don't know. And they took them all out and made them in charge of a block of 400. They had a young boy cleaning their shoes and things like that, ironing their shirts. They were our called block Älteste. We called them. They were not old. They were in their 40s, 50s, but they were in jail. In Germany we have jail and another one, and they are for life. So they made them an offer: you become this, but you must run away, and you must punish them, and you must hit them, and things like that. They were very bad. But one of them liked me, and he said, "What, can you make a ring for me?" "Yes, I make a ring for you." "With my wife's initial?" "Yes, I make a ring with you." And so he was quite nice to me. So I could always with him get news. And so I found out 2 months. I met him 2 months after I was in the camp. He followed me He liked me. I didn't get anything special, but I became workshop manager of Bayer. I was in charge of 200 machines, and I had a sign around my neck. How's the paper? If one machine stops, you hang. So what do? I made 200 whistles out of stainless steel. Now, the whistle is, one end is a bit smashed, that's for your mouth. Mm-hmm. The other is closed. There's a hole there, but I need a steel ball. Inside is a steel ball. If you blow, the steel ball hit the wall, and that makes the noise. Where do I take steel balls? But one day I passed a dirt pin on the way, and I found hundreds of pips from cherries. I took them in my pocket, I polished them. They were my balls. It wasn't as loud as a steel, but loud enough for me to hear. And so I gave to everyone who worked on the machines, including my own sister. But I couldn't speak to her. When a machine, the counter shouts, the needle goes down, they whistle, I run, I must close the machine. If I close the machine, I can start. If the machine stops by itself, all machines must be closed. And I hang. And you see hanging people, bashed people. I see people where they made, I don't want to tell you. We have 3 men alive in Israel who are created by a gene added to a person who made love to a Jewish woman. That is Mengele. And they have only boys. And we have 3 alive. One is albino I met in Israel. They won't live very long. And I saw this, how they create. I went once because he wanted me to, he took me out from my job, took me to Katowice, and for 2 months I was not foreman of this company. I worked for Dr. Joseph Mengele. I saw his real face and real. He wanted me to make him a small operating table. I made it. But I went once to his chambers, and a French girl said to me, "Is there water outside?" 2nd floor, 7 months pregnant. Means a beautiful soldier, tall, healthy, make love to her. And then they inject this gene, and she will have at least 1 or 2 boys. And she asked me in French if there's water outside. And before I could answer, I heard she opened the door and jumped from the 2nd floor, split her head, and died. She was 7 months pregnant from this woman. Why doing this to our children? Maybe she was 17, 18, no more. How many people had died? Taking out livers, taking out kidneys without anesthetic. Yes. These are the superior race of Europe. Oh, come on.
Eddie, tell me about the children in the camps. What were their lives like?
But in Auschwitz I, there was only a few, and they were all helping the progress. But in Birkenau and Auschwitz II and Buna and III, there were children. But for children, it must have been awful, very awful, especially when they had a number on their inside. Not many. They helped. They were collecting things, delivering, going from one building to another. Same thing, sometimes experimental on them. They were there for a reason. They didn't save them, because 1,500,000 children under the age of 12 died in open fire. Open fire. Babies, 1 month old, 2 months old, taken from mothers in fire. Right? And if the mother doesn't let go, she goes in the fire too. Well. See, we are now 80 years after Kristallnacht. Will we have a Kristallnacht commemoration in 20, in 50, in 100 years? I don't know. I don't know. Humans should learn from our past. You see, one flower is my garden, but one good friend is my world.
When you were in the camps, did you have faith?
No. You are on your own. Only my friend. We were 4 young Germans. They were 5 years older than me, the 2 who committed suicide. They went one evening, one night, to the wire. The wire is loaded with 30,000 volts. It takes 30 seconds. You're electrocuted. You feel nothing. And many times I said to my friend Kurt, let's go to the wire. No, he said. And when he was sick, came to me, I said no. That is what I teach the children. Together, we are strong. Alone, we are nothing. I go to nursing homes. Why? I haven't got a mom. When I married a beautiful girl in 1946, I fell in love with her, but I didn't need a wife. I needed a mom. And she had a mom. She got a mom and a wife at the same time. See, this is important. I want to teach you, all the people who are younger, if you don't learn from us, there will not be a future. The young people of today have lost respect. I get up for a pregnant woman and I see the children, 14, 15, 16, looking in their computer, don't see who comes to the bus. They don't want to see. Is this respect? No. Plus patience. Patience is a virtue. Without patience, you'll never be happy. Whatever you get easy has no value. But what you work for, that has value. When you arrive in Paris now, a voice says, did you come first class? If your answer is no, your children will. And that's the truth. You don't die from hard work, but you die from worries, jealousy, envy. I don't care. They asked me, what is my secret? My secret is a good wife and friendship. I said, if you're married,
Yes.
if you don't become the best friend of your husband, your marriage will fail. Friendship. Friendship you cannot buy. When I was 8 years old, my father says to me, Eddie, there's more pleasure in giving than taking. I thought he's cuckoo. No. Now that I have children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, what you give, you get back. You give nothing, you get nothing back. You're born with a brain that is such a beautiful machine. You put something in, you get something out. You put nothing in, you get nothing out. That's different. We want to make the people who are uncivilized, civilized. Why? If they're happy, leave them live. Why? People living in the jungle, naked, why do you want them to drive a car? I swear to you, I'm happier if it was still horses. I don't like the car. I don't like progress. I was with an Italian. His name was Sergio. And one night he was dreaming. He says to me, Eddie, if I survive, I take all the scientists, put them in a bag and blow them up. I say, Sergio, you can't do that. Why not? One day they invent something and this planet will be destroyed, not by an outsider, by inside. What for? Do you care if there are people on Mars? I tell you, if the 6 million Jews were not killed, and this is my honest belief, we wouldn't have today Alzheimer, breast cancer, Parkinson's disease. These were men and women. They never will be replaced.
Why do you do your work?
I want to tell you, finished. At the end, I had to escape. My last camp was a small camp of 200 people. And when this camp was liquidated, we were walking around in circles. And one night, the commander says, I found a horse. I'm going to kill the horse. Everybody gets a meal. This was the sign, tonight you must go. I found 2 pieces of timber. It was the lid of sour cucumbers. It's made in wooden barrels, and it's 1 inch thick, 40 centimeter. I carried them under my jacket. Every time we stop, I sit on them. My guards never saw this. That night when he promised us the meal, I went into a pipe. Every 100 meters is a pipe, 95 centimeters. Half is submerged and half is above ground, full of water. So I just my head a little bit over, water till here. If I can't breathe, I drown. I put right in the middle, 17 meters from one side, 17 meters. And I put my timber on my right side, because I was wondering why no one ever came out of those pipes. Because you needed a snorkel or timber. And I blacked out. I lost my wooden shoes. I don't know if I was there 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, I can't tell you. But when I woke up, 38 bullets were stuck in the right timber. I had for 1 year a mark here. 1 bullet came nearly through, scratched me, but didn't go through. Because if it goes through, I'm dead. That's why many people went into those pipes, but they didn't have any protection. So they were dead, because 2 men stayed behind. Now I know what they're doing. The right one first shoots with a machine gun, and then the other, your head is shot in pieces and big rats eat you up. I walk out, I see smoke coming out of a house, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's dark. I knock on the door. A young girl, 17, she opens the door. She was frightened. I say, please don't be frightened. I'm running away from a camp. Can you help me with a pair of shoes? I lost my wooden shoes. She ran in, she called the father. Father came out in pyjama. He hugged me. I was skinny and wet. He saw a little triangle that I'm Jewish. He asked me to stay with him. I say, no. It's a big family. If a patrol car comes here, find me in your house, they kill me and your whole family. He gave me a jumper. I threw away my striped clothes. He gave me a cap from a golf club with a shield. I threw away my striped club. And he gave me leather shoes. They were a bit worn, but I never had leather shoes. For 5 years, no leather shoes. He showed me where his high shed was. I stayed in the high shed the night. Next morning, about 5 to 8 kilometers to a forest. First night I was in a cave. I couldn't stay. Bats were flying around. Lucky I had no hair. They got in your hair, you can't get them out. Second night, nobody would find me in that cave. So big. For 2 months, I lived in a cave eating big snails because I know how to eat them. Escargot. Where they attach to the house, that's poison. If you eat that hard piece, you're dead. I break the house, hold that little piece, and she's wobbling around like that. Put that in your mouth alive and bite and throw away this hard piece. This kept me alive for 2 months. But I collected every third night some water from a creek. And this creek was poison. I became so sick. On the 4th of June, I was so sick I couldn't stand up. On my hands and my knees, I made 80 meters to the highway. The highway is 1.5 meters above the ground. But I couldn't get up, so I had to go a bit further, and I pulled myself on some bushes. I put my head on the highway. I'm in front of an American tank. The war was over for a month, and I didn't know.
You were eating your snails in the cave.
Those lovely soldiers carried me onto their tank. I don't know where they got the blanket from. And I woke up after 7 days in a coma in a German hospital. I've been there for 3 months. I weighed 28 kilos. I was more dead. And every morning at 8, and every night at 6, comes a Professor Hoffman with a little beard. And I ask him every time, Professor Hoffman, what are my chances? He never answers. One night, a sister came. She wanted to see if I'm breathing. When you're so small and so sick, you don't breathe very much. You go. She put her head on my blanket. I grabbed the arm, and I say, Emma. Her name was Emma. Oh, she was tall. I say, Emma, I'm not letting your arm go before you tell me. What did he tell you? And I started crying. And she bent down and whispered in my ear, 65% you're dead and 35% you live. And I made a vow. I said, lieber God, if you help me to come out of this hospital alive, I promise you I will never, ever put my feet again on German soil. That's what I'm doing. But I'm happy. Until I drop dead, I teach children how to be happy and make this world a better place for everyone.
Eddie is amazing, right? And the other extraordinary thing about this interview is that after I did it, I came back to the office and I got a text from a friend saying, I think you just interviewed my grandfather. It turns out that Eddie's great-granddaughter is at school and is friends with my daughter. How small a world is that? We'd love to hear what you thought of this episode and what your biggest takeaway was. Call us on the PodPhone on 02 899 9386 and let us know. This episode is in memory of everyone who was lost in the Holocaust and their families who remain. I'm Mia Friedman. See you on Mamma Mia.
I'm a fighter. My wife 3 months ago was sick with lung infection, and we meet 10 women. We were 12 couples who used to meet every Wednesday night or Thursday night. Now we meet Thursday lunchtime. She's the only one who who has a partner. All my friends are gone. Sometimes I don't feel like going, but for my friends, I must go. And so I said to my wife this morning even, you're the only one who has a partner. You sit opposite me and we enjoy our breakfast. She started crying. Because sometimes she's upset, she wants to die. I say, why? You're not fair. First, I'm 4 years older than you. I have to go first. Second, you want to leave me alone? Why? We fight together. She's a strong woman, but suddenly because things happen to her. But I said, this is nothing. If I would have been, look what a beautiful, we were married for 72 years. Here's my wife, I show you. How I fell in love, you will see why. Yeah. I have a photo from us. Here.
Oh.
My wife is 22 and I am 28.
Can I take a picture of that?
Yes, sure. You please.
Picture of that.
Yes, you can.
How did she survive the Holocaust, Eddie?
Yeah. She was the secretary of the town mayor of Brussels. And somebody denounced her. She's Greek. She's born in Salonika, but Jewish. And he denounced her, and so he wanted a job. He wanted a job for her, for his wife. And so the German gave her a letter. She had to bring so many blankets and so many blouses and things like that and go to Auschwitz. When she shouted to her boss, she said, Auschwitz is a death camp. Why do you want to? You tell me what you want, your name, and I make you a Belgium card that you are Belgium, a Christian. What would you like to be your name? And she said, Christian de la Croix, Christine of the Cross. And she has, the card is exposed here.
Wow.
You can have.
And that kept her safe.
Yeah. They smuggled her to Paris, and she worked, and she survived as Christian de la Croix. When I go sometimes to Belgium, and then her friends ask me, how's Christian? First I said, what are they talking about?
How did you meet?
So, Belgium was very sorry for what happened to me because somebody denounced us and they transported us to Auschwitz. Not Germans. Belgium arrested me. Belgium police. So they gave me 6 months to stay in Belgium. And they gave me double rationnement, double bread, double everything. But for this you need stamps. So I had to go to the Maison Communale, the town hall, and the lady who gave me the stamps, she saw my number. She said, are you from Auschwitz? Yes. 1 minute. She went in, she called my wife, come and meet a Holocaust survivor. I had one look, I fell in love.
And that was that.
I said to her, you know that I work in a clinic. You have to come with me to the clinic to see if you're 100% and I'm 100%. So she said, I've been in a camp, you go. So I said, goodbye. You marry somebody else. 2 weeks later, she rang me and she says, no, I'm coming with you.
We're so lucky that you both came to Australia.
So I met my wife and we married on the 20th of April, 1946. I came here in 1950 with a little boy, Michael, and we are still here. 68 years I'm here. I made application. They gave me in my identity card, they gave me must immigrate. So I made application to USA, Canada, Australia, France, and England. I don't go back to Germany. This came after 4.5 years, so I came here.
How lucky are we to have you?
I arrived on Thursday and I started working for DHA, Drug Houses of Australia, making beautiful instruments. We fall in love with our profession. Whatever you choose to be, fall in love with it. No profession has only good sides. Everyone has good and bad. But if you're in love, you do good.